Hola, sweet friends. Welcome to Love Lab MD, the only place for highly ambitious women to be our authentic feminine selves while discussing intimate relationship topics. Love Lab MD is a non-judgmental space to seek and give relationship advice and power couple tips. We will learn how to authentically lead with love so that we can deepen the connection and enhance the intimacy between our love and ourselves. And I am your host, a doctor mom in a dual physician relationship and a marriage and intimacy coach, Dr. Kate Mangona. Bienvenidos. Yay! Thank you so much, Dr. Brittne Halford, for joining me again for you know what? I have rebranded. I know you have some new news. So on the Love Lab MD podcast, we have Dr. Brittne Halford joining us. She is an internal medicine physician, originally from Flint, Michigan. She attended University of Michigan, go blue, for college, medical school at Northwestern's University's Feinberg School of Medicine, and completed a master's degree in public health. Now, I know Brittne because we bumped into each other at the White Coat Investor Conference, or what's it really called? The physicians. What's it really called, Brittne? You can tell me. But anyway, we bumped into each other at White Coat Investor Conference a couple years ago, and then she spoke. The most recent this past year in February, did amazing, blew it out of the park, and now has her own podcast, Wealth Minded MD with Lisha Taylor. Now, she has been coaching for a while now on personal finance, building generational wealth. She talks about her own experience of paying off 138,000 student loans in 3 short years. So she helps women be able to obtain more joy in their lives through tailored money management strategies. And she has a beautiful husband. She's the beautiful wife, and she has mother to her children, Brooke and KJ. So today we're going to be talking about traveling with children, traveling without children, how to make those types of decisions. And if you can see her, if you are watching this on YouTube, you can see she's got a room full of boxes in the background. So even moving children. So thank you, Brittne, for joining us.
Thank you, Kate. It is always such a pleasure to be in your presence. I just really love your energy, and I'll just look forward to this conversation.
Yes, I know. Me and just, we're just talking about how I just came from like my children's swim meet. So I'm glistening with sweat over here in my athleisure clothes, and you look beautiful, ready to go to the hospital to serve your patients or stand on stage for that matter. So tell me, was there anything I left out of your intro? Anything else that you like to do, that you're passionate about?
I'm passionate about so many things. As you talk about your swim meet, I also am still sweating from my morning run. And because I'm so frugal, I have not turned on the air conditioning. Now, I imagine that Boston is not nearly as humid or hot as it is in Texas, but it is still approaching 80 degrees. So I should probably turn on some type of air conditioning. So I hear you, Kate. And, I just want to say that I am so excited to be on the Wealth Minded MD podcast with Dr. Lisha Taylor as my co-host. This podcast is something that, at least in my mind, it's similar to your podcast where women get really vulnerable. And I've loved hearing your personal stories, Kate, of how you and Victor manage and how you do this whole mother physician thing and figure it all out and make a lot of mistakes. And that's too what we highlight on our podcast is some money mistakes, also just the joys of life and the throes of life. So I'm really excited to be here and excited for future collaborations.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's get started with, and for people who have not listened to your episode that you were on with me last year in 2023, let's just do a brief recap of when you first were interested in finances, whether you do it, your husband does it, you guys both do it, and how you did actually manage to pay off $138,000 in 3 years.
I would say that my desire to learn more about personal finance started after I graduated from medical school, but it was always there. Money can be a taboo topic, but because I grew up in a household where it was mostly a single mother household, and my father still very prominent in my life, but they are both extremely frugal. So we talked about money often, mostly from the perspective of how do I save money? And my mother would do these calculations with me when we're driving to the store or when we're on the road of how much you have to pay, what's the discount, how much change you'll get back. She basically wanted to ensure that none of the cashiers were going to cheat me out of any of my pennies. And still to this day, Kate, when we're at the grocery store, she will do the mental calculus. And if they get something wrong, she'll tell them. And they're like, no, ma'am, this is what the cash register is like. That number is wrong. So it's really, really interesting. You know, the way that my parents think about money is completely different than how I consider money now. Mm-hmm. And it was this desire to steward my money well, because I, at the time, was the first doctor in my family. And I knew that I would have this charge to help those who are behind me and some other family members. So I wanted to make sure that debt was not a burden preventing me from doing so. And that's why I was really aggressive in my debt payoff. And that was the motivation for increasing my financial literacy.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, how does your mom remember? Like, I mean, does she only buy 5 items? How does she remember all the items in the basket?
No, she purchases many more items, but I think as she's going through the store, she kind of does the mental calculations as she adds things to the cart, and she knows how much things are priced and what like the coupon says or what the discount is. I honestly don't know how she does it, because I'm quite mindless when I go to the grocery store about like what I need and what has been rung up. It's not until after I get home that I kind of do an evaluation. And by that time, it's like, is it really worth the effort of calling the store or going back? But she's done this for years. So I think her brain has just conditioned itself to do the calculation.
Now that you say that, my grandfather did the same thing. Like he knew, right? And it's so funny because I was at a dinner with my neighborhood moms last week, and one of them was like, the checkout lady asked me how much the bread was. She was like, she didn't have the tag on it. She's like, she asked me how much the bread was. I don't know how much the bread is. It could be $10. It could be $20. It could be $2. Like, I don't know how much the loaf of bread. And like, yes, some of us are like, I think, and for certain people, right, that is, they're a little bit more passionate about that, or they're a little bit more minded, or maybe they have to be. Once you have made it to a certain place and you don't have to worry about like whether it's $2 or $10, we start to maybe worry about other things, you know? Mm-hmm. And I wanted to talk about your trip, because I know you went to Las Vegas, right?
Yes.
You went to Las Vegas several months ago and you made this really fun Instagram post, and it really like just drew me in, because here you are, Brittne Halford, you know, Dr. Brittne Halford. So this money coach, amazing personal finance expert, counting your mother's counting the pennies. You paid off your student loans in 3 years, and you are blowing through money. And you're even telling everybody, you're like, I paid $1,000 on tickets. I paid $3,000 at the hotel. I like at the spa. And you're like listening, and my eyes were like, oh my gosh. I just loved your transparency. I loved your honesty. Can you tell us a little bit about how you make that type of decision, and when you spend that much money on a trip with your husband?
Yeah, you know, I can say that, as you mentioned, money worries, or worries in general, I think they transform. And because I know that we've paid ourselves first, that we have like almost everything on automation, sometimes it has kicked me in the butt. And if because I'm not as mindful, because, you know, we have 2 small children, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. And so things get really busy, especially when you don't have family to kind of help you manage the day to day. So I try to put everything on automatic. And so when you pay yourself first, when you know that you're maxing out your 401ks, your 457Bs, when you've automated your contributions to your brokerage accounts and the investments, then you know that there's still money in the bank, and it provides this mental ease when it comes to spending. Now, I can say that we did not at all plan how much we were going to spend on this vacation. And in some regards, it wasn't even considered a vacation per se, because my husband was presenting at the conference. I was still meeting with clients while I was in Las Vegas, doing all of the things, right? But we decided to take advantage of the opportunity of traveling without children. And one of the things that I would love to get your take on is that my husband and I we have such different spending personalities. He is more of a spender. He might limit some of the large spends to, just once a year or twice a year, where I am so frugal and often don't spend money on many things unless I feel this either like psychological, emotional attachment or drive to make a bigger spend. It takes more energy for me to make that purchase. And I don't mind if we go to a football game and we're sitting in row 285, where my husband's like, it's not a good experience. If we're going to go to a football game, I actually want to see the players, where I'm like, okay, I can watch it on the TV. It's like, yeah, we can do that at home. So when we go out, and when I go out with my husband, now I know that if we're going to go to a football game, this is going to be a larger expense, right? And it's okay, because he works really hard, and we've automated everything that we need. We've automated our savings. So I don't have to worry about, okay, if we go a little bit over budget, that we actually can't afford it. And it's going to put us in this situation where we have to carry that balance forward. Yeah. I mentioned in the post, I was like, oh, we have, I think it was like $11K in credit card debt. That was credit card debt for that period, that grace period, but we paid it all off before the interest hit, right?
Exactly. So when you said so it takes you more energy to make like a big purchase, and him less energy, but he'll only do it he will do it less. Is that what you're saying?
Definitely. Okay. He will do it less, and I don't know if I make large purchases more frequent than he does, but because it just takes more energy for me to make a big spend. But he doesn't spend as much in the day to day, I don't think, as because mostly what I'm purchasing is for my kids, but I might buy a few things here and there for myself. And I think what we don't realize is that even those smaller purchases, the summation of it could equal $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. And so someone might say, oh, I don't spend that much. But if you spend often, then it's the same as a person purchasing something for $3,000 one time. Yeah. Right. So you just got to figure out how you want to spend your money.
Right. So what did you get for that $11,000, Brittne?
So we flew first class to Las Vegas, and I actually purchased these tickets, and it took me a while. But the reason why is because when we think about money, at least for where we are financially now, it's not all about the dollar, right? It's not all about the cost. It's also about the value and the comfort. And at that time, we were flying to Las Vegas, but our return flight was a red eye. And I knew that my husband would have to go to work when we got off the plane. And I didn't want him to be exhausted. He's a psychiatrist. He, meets with various administrative staff. And so I want his brain to be as sharp as possible. Yeah. So we paid for the comfort of that flight. Also, it's quite nice. We live in Boston, so it's like a 6-hour plane ride, and no one wants to be cramped for 6 hours on a red eye. So that was an expensive flight. However, we had a few flight credits that we were able to use to kind of offset some of the cost. Of course, we put it on a transferable points credit card. So we got all those credit card points that we can use for future travel. So that was one thing that we spent the money on. The second thing that we spent the money on was a really swanky hotel. And, for me, I probably would not have put us in that hotel, but it had the best view of like the city. And we got upgraded because of the credit card that we used. And you share with your own experience of like your love and affinity for this credit card, but we use the Amex Platinum and it got us a free upgrade. So now we have this very nice hotel, and literally we just like stayed in the hotel most of the time, enjoying each other's company. My husband had a few meetings, and then we went out at night. We saw Ashanti, which was a work event, and my husband kind of finagled getting a pass for me for free. So that was free. We saw Usher, which was phenomenal.
Oh my gosh, I love Usher. Yes, and I saw you guys all dancing. I'm pretty sure, like in my mind at least, I saw you dancing to Usher, Brittne.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it took me back to, those high school, college age days when I was in complete awe of him. And he still does very, very well. It was a fantastic concert. And then we also went to a football game, and we sat like first row at the Raiders game. Now, I'm not a sports fanatic, but I can identify an interception or two, so that was a really good game. So that's mostly what we spent our money on. And occasionally we went out to eat, but sometimes it was just like a quick run to CVS or something cheap. We ate at like Denny's. So we didn't spend a lot of money on food. I think room service was probably the most expensive food experience that we had. So yeah, we didn't plan all of that, but we enjoyed every single moment.
Okay. And childcare, because you did not bring your children with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to spend on childcare, or did you have family, friends?
Yeah, family. So for those bigger trips, my mother and aunt will fly in to help me. And they don't charge me anything. I give them a few $100s and say, hey, don't spend this all in one place. And they do their best. My kids really love it because my mother will take them to the Dollar Tree, which is no longer a dollar store. It's a $1.25 store, and give them a little budget for them to purchase whatever they want. But my mother enjoys it, and my aunt does too, because little children just give you a different sense of like urgency of how you should spend your time. It allows you to have this perspective to enjoy the simplistic aspects of life. Like my son will stop in the middle of the street if he sees a nice stick and then pick that stick up in the middle of the road. It's like, come on, buddy, you can't do that. But the appreciation that he has just for Mother Nature and things that are free is really, really a profound reminder of how we should live in the moment.
I love that. Okay, and where are they flying from? And do you fly them, or do they like fly on points?
No, I fly them. Sometimes we use the points to purchase their tickets, but they fly from Michigan, so it's not too expensive. Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I find that flying, because we do the same thing when we go on trips. I fly my in-laws down from Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, or my mom up down from Kansas City, and I always find Michigan and Kansas City airports more expensive than like going to other major big cities. But I don't know. That was just me.
What? I agree. There's some. Yeah. So and no payment for the childcare, and the flights, you try to book them well in advance and do what you can. But Yeah.
And I always tell people it is like, because a lot of my own clients and friends, they feel so guilty leaving their children for anything, sometimes even work trips. And I go on, like, Victor will joke that I go on retreats, masterminds, conferences half the time. He's like, Kate's gone half the time. And some of that time is with him. But I'm like, no, not really half the time. It may seem like that. But it is, I really don't have much guilt. And I think it's because when I leave, I'm usually leaving them with family. And I know I can't be their only relationship in their life. Like, I want them to create bonds with my mom, my aunt, and even our nanny. Like, it's okay to be able to learn how to create bonds with people outside of your own family too.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I still have a little bit of guilt, honestly, but I know that they're taken care of. And it takes a village. So that old adage resounds so true. Even when I think about how my kids are developing psychosocially and how they're developing like just their know-how. My mother has a level of expertise in some areas that I don't have. And they need to be able to be flexible and adapt to various situations. And so I just feel that that is something that they're learning. And I see the benefit for my mother. She sometimes complains about like little aches and pains and things, but when she's with the kids, like her complaints decrease so much more. I don't know if it's like the oxytocin from all of the hugs that she's getting or what it is, but I see the benefit. And when I am present, that dynamic changes, right? So I want, like you said, for them to be able to develop relationships, strong emotional relationships with other individuals outside of mommy. And I think it also safeguards us, Kate, because, you know, God forbid, but our days are numbered and we don't actually know when we might pass on. And so if our kids are only connected to us, then what will happen in the case, and God forbid, hopefully this does not happen to you or I, but that something were to happen to us, right? We want our kids to still have some attachment to other individuals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then when we're not at conferences and retreats and we are home, you know, and not working, being able to take that lens like your son had, picking up that stick in the middle of the street and just be present with them. Like sometimes I find myself with my AirPod in, like I rarely listen to podcasts when I'm with my kids anymore. I used to do that when they were babies, but like a work meeting, I'm like, oh my God, you know, on my day off, I'm like, oh, I don't want to miss this work meeting. I'm like, okay, I'll just cut that short. You know what? It's really not that important. I'll catch up when I'm actually at work and be present here and now. And that's still hard for me. Like it's still hard for me. What have you found now, do you travel? How old are your kids? First of all, let the audience know how old your kids are and what kind of recent trips you've been on or trips you're planning with the kids.
So my children are 3 years and 5 years. So KJ, Kevin Jr. is 3 years old and Brooke is 5. She'll be 6 in September. When we travel with the kids, typically, maybe people will call us soft parents, you know, that we're unable to travel with the kids by ourselves, but we usually fly in family. Even when we're traveling with the kids. So, you know, we went to Panama last year with the kids and my mother-in-law came with us and she's in her 70s. It was a great experience for her, you know, great experience for my kids, but just having an additional set of hands when you have to go to the bathroom or whatever it, you know, might arise is so incredibly helpful. So typically when we do long travel, international travel, we will take a family member with us and we just pay for all of their expenses. Mm-hmm. And we see the value in doing that. Also, it offsets, it allows us to actually have a day to ourselves or a dinner to ourselves. You know, my husband and I say when we go on a trip with kids, it is a trip. It's not a vacation. You're just parenting in another location.
Yes. No, that's brilliant. I have friends who do that. And we've done the same thing. It's just like traveling brings chaos. I mean, our house brings chaos too, but it's just so much. It also just brings a more kind of community feel to the whole trip and like family feel when you bring some extended family along.
Yeah. I love it. And, you know, it just makes it easier. So, you know, why not? Yeah.
So do you travel more than alone without kids or with kids?
This year I've been speaking at a lot of conferences. And so I've picked up my travel to the point, Kate, and next year I plan to speak at a few more. And I've just been thinking that I will likely need to take them with me. Now, Brooke will be starting kindergarten. So it's like, okay, how do I do that? How important is kindergarten? How many days can she miss, you know?
Yeah.
So we will see, because at some point it does start to feel a little challenging. I'm enjoying my personal time, but whenever I'm speaking to them, this time I spoke with them. My husband took our children. I was in San Diego speaking at a conference, and my husband took our children to Atlanta. Now, they were there with all of my family. My sister-in-laws were there, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, cousins, etc. So I told my kids, I was like, you are under great care. You have expert mommies. They may not be your mommy, but you have expert mommies taking care of you, So I reassured them. But every time I spoke with Kevin Jr., KJ, he's like, Mommy, when are you coming to Auntie Natasha's? Like, he just couldn't understand why I was not there yet. And Brooke understood, like, okay, 2 more sleeps and then we're going to see Mommy and she's going to meet us in Boston. But KJ just kept asking, when are you coming? When are you coming? And at some point, it's like, it just feels like I need to be there. I know that I really don't need to be there because my mother-in-law, my sister-in-laws are there. And my husband, of course, like he's their father, right? He's there too, right?
Yes.
Great hands. But there is a little bit of guilt that I'm not there. And I don't want to feel that. So I just got to figure out how many conferences I can actually go to and speak at the conferences without feeling that mom guilt burden. Yeah.
Okay, well, tell me this. Like, what are you speaking about? What are, like, give me a few examples of conferences you're speaking at, because are you applying, or are people just asking you to come speak? And how does it feel when you're there and you're on stage or you're speaking to the people afterwards? Like, does does your value, you feel like, outweigh the time you're not with your kids, or does it not? Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, I definitely feel that my value and my presence there helps to ameliorate some of the mom guilt, right? I understand that I need to be fulfilled emotionally, professionally, physically, in order for me to show up and be a really good mom. And it affords me the opportunity to do that and to also have space. Like, yes, I'm a mother, but I was much more than a mother before I had these kids, right? And just because I have children doesn't mean that those other identities disappear. Like, they're just as valuable. And so it's finding the balance. So you mentioned that, yes, we met at the White Coat Investor Conference in 2023. And I spoke about personal fulfillment and quality improvement at the White Coat Investor Conference in 2024. I spoke at the Society of Hospital Medicine Conference this year, and that was 3 keys to financial wellness, what medical school did not teach you. I will be speaking at the Women in Medicine Conference this year about leveraging debt and just kind of sharing how you can transform your mindset around debt, how you can create a strategy for your student loans and consumer debt that actually matches with your other financial goals, and how you can leverage some of the nuances to make that debt work for you. And then I will be speaking at the Black Health Connect conference this year, and it's mostly on a panel, and it's called Financially Lit: How to Maximize Your Income Outside of Your Profession. So various topics, but I've really, really enjoyed speaking on the stages. It's exhilarating. I love chatting with people. And it's like, I get so nervous before I step on stage. Like, I am so nervous. And then once I get there, it's like, all right, I can do this thing. Like, let's go.
I know exactly what that feeling, that exhilarating feeling. It's like you're walking up and then you get into, like, because you rehearsed it, you know what you're going to say. You're an expert. You've been living and breathing personal finance since you were born out of the womb. Basically, your mother's been teaching you about strawberries and eggs and how to buy these things. So you are an expert. I am so glad you're speaking at all these places. You tell me, when is it? Are you going to bring do you really want to bring your children to the conferences? Is it like, if you bring your children there, will your husband come too and like do the touristy stuff, or like, what do you think is the best way to do it?
Yeah. I think I have to give some thought to it, because part of that ability to show up in a way that feels very confident means that I've had the time to prepare myself, put on my makeup, work out, eat breakfast, and all of that unencumbered. And not to say that my children are a burden, but even today, like we had a tantrum. Brooke, I love my baby Brooke. She does a disclaimer on the Wealth Minded MD podcast, and it is so cute. Now, I understand that this is a biased opinion, but it is so cute. So Brooke is a diva. I don't know about your girl's case, but she loves to accessorize and match her outfits. And she has like this whole idea of what she wants to put on. But last night we didn't get our clothes out. And I didn't do any laundry over the weekend. And, it's 80 degrees and she likes to change clothes sometimes 3 times a day. Like she plans it. Oh, we're going to go to dinner. So on Saturday, she's like, Mommy, can we go to a restaurant and go to dinner? I said, okay, let me talk to Daddy. And she kept asking. As soon as we arrived home at noon, may I change it to my dress for dinner? May I change it to... I'm like, Brooke, we're not ready yet, So she likes to put on her little high heels. She calls it, may I put on my high heels? And, oh, yes. So today we had a tantrum because the shorts that she wanted to wear were not clean. And that could happen, right, on the day when I'm supposed to present or in the morning when I'm supposed to present. And that impacts me. It impacts how much time I have to get myself prepared. It impacts the mental state that I'm going to be in. So I'm going to have to try to figure out the balance. And perhaps is that if I'm presenting at a conference early on, like if I'm presenting day 1, then they could join me after my presentation and come with my husband and a loved one. And then, as I'm attending the other conference events, they can be present. And therefore, I don't have to have the stress.
Okay. Yes. So I have thought about this for a while because Victor and I used to take our babies everywhere, like every conference, and for the first part of it, he was usually speaking. So I would just be in charge of the baby or the babies. And then we used to have an au pair. And so she traveled with us everywhere we had her for a year. And that was wonderful. But eventually we switched to a nanny. And now I just find the kids with 3 kids and they have so much going on. I find it so much more useful to have family come in and take care of them while Victor and I go, whether it's him presenting, I presenting, sometimes we just go together. It's like all the little things that can happen. And also I love going places and networking constantly, or just meeting people or spending that time with Victor, other people. And when I have kids there, I'm always torn. I'm torn back and forth. So I like keeping, I guess I do some together and some separately. But anyway, so can you give us what are your tips? Do you have tips when traveling with kids? Okay, I know, bringing family is key. Anything else? Like my kids complain. They argue all the time. I don't know if your kids are old enough to argue with each other. They definitely are. My kids are always arguing. Like, that's not fair. That's not fair. She got that. She got more of the waffle. I got, can I have this? Can I have that? Can I have this? Okay. What do you do? How do you handle that?
Yeah. I think they're going to argue and complain because they're kids, right? But one of the ways that I combat that is try to anticipate what their needs are. So one thing that, as they're on their plane and they're sitting in their seats, KJ would always eat the foam earbuds off of the headphones. And I'm like, KJ, give me those, headphone earbuds, spit that out so you don't choke. And then they would always fall out of Brooke's ear. So now I have the over ear headphones, and I anticipate it, and I have extras just in case someone breaks it or loses it at home. I have them pack their snacks into their little book bags, and they each have a book bag. And then I share with them, okay, when we get to the airplane, we're not going to purchase anything. Here is the game plan. And I kind of recite the game plan a couple of times so that they can establish their expectations. And when they begin to ask or complain, and say, remember, we talked about this. We agreed to this. This is a family plan. You packed your snacks.
Oh
And
my
that has
gosh,
helped me
imagine
a
him
lot.
eating a bag full of foamy earbud things. That would look super funny on a CT, I'm just saying, or an X-ray. I mean, you could see all the little beads. Even though they're not metallic, you could probably see like the foamy substance filling the stomach.
Oh my gosh, he's still very oral even at the age of 3. But that has helped me a lot too. Just think about what are their needs going to be. I have traveled a lot with my kids, actually. It's mostly home. So I know that, okay, my mother's going to be there, or to my sister-in-laws in Atlanta. When they pick me up, then I'm going to have some additional support. So it's just that I have to get us on the plane. And usually my husband will drop us off, drop the bags off, and all of that. And then once we get off the plane, then someone will be there to help me. So it hasn't been that challenging. It's just, preparing, packing the snacks, anticipating, okay, do they need their computers or something else just in case screen time is no longer appealing to them. Yeah. And preparing them, having those conversations ahead of time and allowing them to be involved in the planning by planning their snacks.
Oh, I love it. I love all that. And I feel that is definitely an A+ plan in my book. So I know this conversation is coming to an end because you have to get to your next speaking engagement, your next meeting, Brittne. Was there anything else we have not covered or anything you want to talk about? And I know you talked about your podcast. Anything else you want to share with us about traveling, not traveling, moving?
Moving, I would say, or just in general, because this is the Love Lab. I think one of the things has been so imperative for my husband and I. We've just celebrated 9 years, and I know you just had an anniversary too, I think, right?
Yes. 10 years. So 9 years, 10 years.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So, congratulations. It's that my husband is so very different than I am. And when we first got together, I probably have written this in a journal a couple of times, like, I don't know why God put this man in my life. And, there are many things that I love about him and that I loved about him. But then there are some things like, I don't know. And now I realize that it was because I was unable to see his difference as a strength and to see how that impacts me. Because we're so starkly different, he has a different perspective. He manages his finances differently. And I was trying to change him or mold him into kind of doing things my way. And there has been some molding of both of us over time where now I don't let spending $85 on a ballet ticket stress me out. Like, okay, let's sit. This is a once in a lifetime experience or a once in a multiple time experience, but let's enjoy the moment. And now, he thinks about some of the ways that he can save money, but I was brought to where I am today because of him, and I allowed him to be who he is, and he allows me to be who I am. And when we figure out how to work together, it is so beautiful. So I think that self-differentiation and just respecting and valuing your partner's strengths, even if you see that they're starkly different than yours, redoing a reframe and seeing the value and how that can help to move the needle in achieving your financial goals or achieving your family goals has been so critical in our success. Now, we don't always get it right, but I do think we get it right more often than not because of us allowing ourselves to be who we are and valuing the strengths of our partner's differences.
Oh, beautiful. Yes, that was like the perfect Love Lab MD ending, Brittne. You could not have said it better than that. Where can people find you? Because they're all going to be wanting to know where your voice is.
Yeah, yes. So you can find me on Instagram, Brittne Halford. That's where I share all of our shenanigans, and you'll see images of my kiddos or videos of my kiddos and my husband, and kind of share the day-to-day things that are going on in our household. You can also listen to me and Dr. Lisha Taylor on the Wealth Minded MD podcast. And I'm on LinkedIn as well, just learning LinkedIn. But if you want to connect professionally, then I am there as well.
Perfect. Okay. Well, we're going to all go subscribe to the Wealth Minded MD podcast and follow you on Brittne Halford on Instagram. And then LinkedIn too. I've been on LinkedIn for years, but I don't even know how to, like, what does it mean when somebody sends me an invitation? I'm like, oh, geez, I don't even know what my password is.
Okay, it's everything is a learning curve.
Thank you so much, Brittne. This was so much fun. I wish we could speak for another hour.
Yeah. We will definitely have you on the Wealth Minded MD podcast. So, Kate, I just want to really thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for always supporting. I so much appreciated your support at the White Coat Investor Conference. You are just a bundle of joy to be around. And I really appreciate learning from you and learning how to reframe and to keep, the happiness, the intimacy alive in our love lives. So thank you so much.
Well, it wasn't just me. I think you had like a posse of 30 people following you around, just so you know. I'm going to go see Brittne. Yeah, I'm going to go see Brittne. Okay. Okay, Brittne.
Until we meet again. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
What an amazing episode with Dr. Brittne Halford. I just love her energy. She is so much fun. So let's just talk about our key takeaways. Number one, money worries transform. What does that mean? What's the takeaway there? The takeaway there is that if you think you have money problems now and you want them to be solved so that they'll all go away, once you solve your money issue now, then a new one will pop up tomorrow. And you can even extrapolate that into anything, whatever it is, in-law, family, intimacy, like worries. Once you solve one worry in your life, then you'll just be moving to the next one. So then you might be asking me, well then, Kate, why would I hire you to be my coach to help me with in-laws or intimacy when I'm just going to have more problems the next day? Here's the thing. You're no longer worrying about pennies, okay? When you no longer have to be worrying about pennies and dimes, then you're worrying about dollars. Okay, let's say you're not worrying about dollars anymore. Instead, you're worrying about hundreds of dollars. Now, let's say the difference between, being a millionaire and a billionaire is you don't worry about wasting a few $100s here or there, right? Or maybe that's what the millionaire is. But what I'm just saying is you're always moving up. You're moving up and forward when you're working on yourself, when you're working with a coach, when you're working with anybody who's getting you to the next level. So money worries or any worries, you will still have them, but they'll be at a different level. So you'll be growing, you'll be stepping, you'll be, what that ladder they call it, the reaching self-actualization. So what does that mean? Enjoy the journey. Just enjoy the journey of getting there. And know that every foot you put forward in front of the next, with intentionality, will get you to the place that you want to go. If you're surrounded by the right people, if you're reading the right books, listening to the right podcasts, money worries transform. Oh my gosh. So I could say so much about that. That's number one. Number two, key takeaway. Spending personalities can be so different. Your spending personality could be way different than your love's spending personality. And to recognize that is the key. Right? And to know that there might not be the overspender that you are. They might not be the underspender that you are. And they're probably not the same. So just note that, right? And then figure out how you can use that to your advantage, how you can leverage each other's spending personalities to be where you want to be in your path to financial independence or fire, fat fire, lean fire, wherever you're going. Number three. Trips with kids are not vacations. They're just parenting elsewhere. This I find hilarious, and I feel like it's a common thread that my friends and I talk about all the time. Now, when you invite family to come with you on trips or a babysitter au pair, things can be a little bit lighter. You may have chances to go escape for dinners or breakfasts or be able to sleep in when you have people helping you with your kids. It's, you have to invite the appropriate people, the right people. You can't invite the one person who doesn't know how to take care of kids or talk to kids or anything. But think about this, right? Really strategize and be intentional about what trips you take with your kids and what trips you take alone. And allow yourself to travel without your children without feeling guilt. What is guilt? Guilt is intentionally harming somebody. When you travel without your children, with just your spouse to work on your own relationship, are you intentionally harming your kids? No. You're leaving them with another comfortable person, whether it's your nanny or your mother-in-law, father-in-law, and they're creating a bond and learning how to create a bond outside of you and your love. How important isn't that? And if you're going on a conference and you're speaking on stage and you're just exhilarated the whole time and everybody's taken care of at home and you're not distracted and you perform at your highest capacity, exhilarating. Okay. My last take-home point, I can't even recap that whole ending she just had, which was absolutely beautiful, about how her and her husband are so different. So different. And if you ever ask yourself, why did God put that man or that woman or that person in my life? Maybe answer yourself, right? Answer it. Why? Why did they? I'm sure there was a reason. God, the universe, your life came together. Your lives touched, your lives came together. Are you allowing each other to just be yourselves without molding each other into somebody you don't want to be, right? Using what you think is the weaknesses of your spouse, using that as actually something that you can grow from, you can connect with, you can work on something internally, right? Now, they say children are put here on earth to teach us how to become even more human. Like, they're our greatest teachers, right? Children are like the earth's greatest teachers for us. Why not your spouse too? What can they teach you? Allow each other to be who you are. And with that, so much love to you and your spouse. If you found this episode at all helpful, please share it with somebody. Dr. Brittne Halford would love that. Go follow her on Wealth Minded MD. Follow, if you haven't subscribed to Love Lab MD, subscribe. Leave us a review. Let us know. What are you liking? What do you don't? If you have any suggestions for guests you want on the show, let me know. Any topics you want me to talk about, message me. I'm on Instagram at Kate Mangona MD. Also, Honeymoon 2.0, one spot left as of June 3rd, 2024, the recording of this. So much love to you and your spouse, to you and your family, and to you and your children, and safe travels. Until we see you again. And remember, love smarter, not harder.